Oh boy, my credit card bill has arrived. $12,000! Well, that's the last time I try to unmask a monster. The 90s, as I have said, was an interesting time, and the late 90s even more so. Grunge was taking over all parts of movies, comics, and TV. You couldn't get away from it, and dark and gritty was the new norm. Another thing the 90s was known for was an explosion of independent comics, thanks in part to the success of independent comic book series like Mirage Comics' Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Though, I'm pretty sure there were others. Image Comics, being one of the companies to come out of the early 90s, was a comic book company founded by Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Mark Silvestri, Eric Larson, Jim Valentino, Chris Claremont, and most notably, Todd McFarlane. Of the comics produced by Image, Spawn was the one that stands out. The comic was dark and grungy and had an edgy feel that companies in the 90s were looking for, so it made sense that HBO, wanting to do more adult cartoons, would give the green light to Todd McFarlane to produce an animated series of the comic book antihero. If there's anything that stands out, Spawn the Animated Series has ties to Batman and Batman the Animated Series. First, Todd McFarlane did artwork for DC Comics in the 80s and the 90s, and he drew up a couple of covers for the Batman comics. When HBO wanted to produce Spawn the Animated Series, they were looking to Warner Bros. Animation and hired Shelley Walker for the music of the series, who had previously worked with Danny Elfman for the 1989 Batman film score, which she later adapted to the Batman the Animated Series. HBO also hired Eric Radomski, who was responsible for the dark look of the Batman the Animated Series, as well as the episode title cards that were iconic. I would be remiss if I don't point out the further ties between Spawn and Batman with the comic book that they team up in. Written by Frank Miller, Batman is trying to track down where some high-tech weapons are being manufactured. Miller pits the two against each other before they realize that they're after the same person. You would think that with Eric Radomski as the art director and Todd McFarlane involved in the show, that it would be the perfect storm of awesome. But this was not true. The first season of Spawn was plagued with problems. The show suffered with animation errors, and the characters were not consistent. This was made up for as the writing for Season 1 was good, and so the inconsistencies in the animation were more tolerable. Season 2 saw a fix in the production of the animation, but the writing had started to dip overall as the plot of the series took a back seat to side stories. As a result, Season 2 was visually stunning with the improvements in animation and consistency of the look of the characters, but lacked in story. Season 3 is widely regarded as the weakest of the series, as Eric Radomski left the series at the end of Season 2. Spawn, for those of you who don't know, is a story about a former serviceman named Al Simmons who was betrayed by his friend and fellow serviceman, Chapel. Chapel burned Simmons to death with a flamethrower. Because nothing says, "Hey, it's not personal," like a flamethrower. Al Simmons is sent to hell where he meets with Malboja and makes a deal with him to come back to Earth and find his wife. Malboja obliges, but with a twist. Unbeknownst to Simmons, it is now 5 years later and Simmons is not in his own body. Now, back on Earth and not in his own body, he has to find his wife Wanda, who is now married to his best friend Terry Fitzgerald, and they both have a daughter named Cyan. Hilarity ensues. The voice talent consists of Terry Fitzgerald, voiced by Michael Beach, Wanda Blake, voiced by Dominique Jennings, Clown, voiced by Michael Nicholas, and Clown's alter ego, Violator, voiced by Jamie Haynes, and of course, Spawn, voiced by Keith David. Because I cannot stress enough just how awesome Keith David is as Spawn. Season 1 of the show started May 16, 1997, and ended June 30th of that year with 6 episodes for the season. Season 2 started May 15, 1998, and lasted until June 19th with 6 more episodes. Season 3 started May 23, 1999, and went on until May 28th, adding 6 more episodes and finishing the series with a total of 18 episodes. The show was cancelled as, at the time, HBO had given up on animation, and Spawn was the last show that was animated. The series ended on a cliffhanger, with the apocalypse just around the corner. If you want to watch the series, there are many ways in which you can watch it. Amazon and YouTube have the series to watch for a price, and the DVDs contain the entire series. Even better, you have your choice of the way you want the series to be presented to you. The first, second, and third seasons were combined to make 3 2-hour movies. Better yet, the movies came out in 2 different sets. The first is uncut and is rated TVMA, and the second set of 3 being rated PG-13. There is also a 4-disc box set that has all the episodes and a 4th bonus disc. As of 2009, Todd McFarlane claimed that he was working on a 4th season of the show titled Spawn Animated. He said that 85% of the work is done, but much like Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers the movie, I'm not holding my breath on it ever seeing the light of day. I remember finding this on HBO as a teenager, and much like Spicy City, it blew my teenage mind away, and it got me to like Spawn. This was a renaissance of adult cartoons, and with Spicy City and South Park, Spawn was one of the forerunners. If this was the first episode you saw, and you like the information that I'm conveying, please check out my channel, and subscribe maybe? I'm your host, the Animator, and this was Cartoon Breakdown. Oh my god, this is so stupid.